At work, it can feel like stress is coming from deadlines, meetings, and expectations. But what if the pressure you feel isn't actually coming from the outside world? I'm Luke Richardson, and this is Wave Work Stress Goodbye, a podcast exploring the inside-out understanding and seeing how our minds work can transform the way we experience work, pressure, and performance. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Hello, welcome back to Wave Work Stress Goodbye. My goodness, how long does it feel? It feels like I've not done a solo episode talking directly to you guys for such a long time. And that's because I've been doing lots of guest episodes recently, like with Lee, with Helen, with Cindy, and with Becca. And I really enjoyed having those conversations with people, but I've also missed talking one-to-one like this. And if you miss any of those previous episodes, don't worry. If you go into my podcast library, you'll see them all in the latest episodes, and you can catch them all there. And if you're really enjoying the podcast, whether that's with the guest episodes or the solo ones, then give me a follow, subscribe to the podcast, send me an email, let me know what you think. That's on 142way1988@gmail.com. That's 142way1988@gmail.com. Send me an email, let me know what you think, and you can also connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram as well, where you can also send me a direct message just to let me know what you think of the podcast and anything else you might want to raise with me as well. So let's get kicking on the solo episode. As I say, I'm so excited to be talking one-to-one again with you guys, and I thought I'd talk a little bit about AI. And I don't want to talk about AI as a whole. I don't want to talk about, what it is, what it can do, what it means for the future, for society as a whole. No, what I want to talk to you about AI is, I want to talk to you about AI in the sense of what it can't replace for you, for me, for humanity. Because if you listen to any of my previous episode recordings before about this deep understanding of life, or if it's the first time you're listening, welcome. I'll talk to you about this now in a bit of depth. I talked to you about how each and every one of us are the creators of our own experience of life. You create your own experience of life, I create my own experience of life, and your friends and family create their own experience of life as well. And we do that irrespective of what's going on in the outside world. So in other words, when we create positive or negative experiences for ourselves, we're doing that regardless of, whether someone's shouting at us or whether we've got a lot of money or no money, or whether whether our car has broken down or not broken down. And you can prove that to yourself by just looking at each and every one of your colleagues in your workplace. Someone will get that email, won't they? And then they'll get that email and flip all of a sudden and start swearing under their breath. And there'll be other people that will get similar emails or the same email that concerns them as well, and they'll won't batter an eyelid about it. And that's the point I'm making, that each and every one of us creates our own unique experience of life. And it's a shame we don't all understand that, because when we do understand that, we can thrive as individuals a hell of a lot more than we are doing at the minute. We reach our full potential as people when we understand that, nothing out there can affect what's going on in here. Now let's get on to the AI part of this episode, because as I said, I don't want to talk about AI. I'm not an expert in AI. I don't really understand it that much in that respect. What I do understand is it's a bunch of data that is being coerced into making our lives better, or hopefully it's there to make our lives better. Like the internet back in 20, 30, 40 years time. Who knew how revolutionary the internet was going to be for us all? I remember when I was a kid and my dad first got the dial-up internet back in the mid-90s, and we sent an email to a pen friend person that he found for me in Australia. It was a girl similar age to me, maybe about 10, 11, and we sent her an email. And it seemed to take an age for the email to go through. And it seemed to take an age for the email to come back as well. But I guess I couldn't appreciate it at my age at the time, but I remember my dad being absolutely awestruck at how amazing this piece of technology was. Like, we could communicate with another person from the other side of the world via a simple message. And little did we know how things were going to kick off from that moment in the mid-90s, how it was going to, revolutionise the way we worked, the way we communicate with people, how we could shop online, to how it could help us connect with people when social media came into a company of internet. I'm not talking about social media now where AI really generates it and dictates it, but I'm talking about social media back in, when it first came out in 2000 and whatever it was, 2007, 8, when Facebook came out, which allowed us all to connect with each other and our friends and see what they were up to. It really, really brought people together. But of course, it had its positives, but it also has its negatives as well, and still does to this very day. I won't go into that. You know what those negatives are when it comes to the internet. Now, AI today is probably where the internet was in the mid-90s. And what I mean by that is we're only scratching the surface of what AI can be for us all. And that's pretty scary, because AI is doing a pretty good job in terms of the benefits of it already. And it's only in the next 10, 20, 30 years, who knows what it's going to be like for us. There's going to be loads of positives when it comes to AI, but there's also going to be lots of negatives as well. And I want to talk about AI now in the sense of your job, because what I don't want to do on this episode, I don't want to talk about AI and pretend that it's not going to be a threat to your job. It could be, I still work a job as well. I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's not going to be a threat to my job as well. And maybe you're listening to this episode because you're worried about that. You're worried about AI eventually taking your job and making you redundant. Or maybe it already has. Maybe the impact of AI already has been that big that it's already took your job, and you're kind of at sixes and sevens about it, don't know what's hit you between the eyes when it comes to AI and taking your job, and you're redundant and don't know where to turn, or you've managed to get another job despite AI taking it, but at the same time you're like, what the hell just happened here? How the hell did this piece of technology that's growing and growing and growing take my job? And as I say, I don't want to sit here and pretend it will never do that. AI has the potential to be extremely powerful, that it's going to, create a lot of benefits for us all as people, but also create a lot of negatives. I think a negative is taking people's jobs and identities, or it's going to feel like it's taking people's identities. And that's why I want to go into the spiritual side of this episode now, because I want to remind you that anything in the outside world, whether that's other people, redundancies, anything for that matter in the outside world, cannot remove universal truth, and AI comes under that bracket as well. If you're worried about AI taking your job, or if it already has, I just want to remind you about you. And I want to remind you about you in terms of how special you are as a human being. How special all human beings are, for that matter. Because all human beings create their experience of life. And when you understand that we're all doing that, then AI loses its power over you. And its threats, such as making you redundant and losing your job, loses its power over you. Because it doesn't matter how powerful AI gets from this moment to whenever, it will never ever replace universal truth for us all. And that universal truth is how we're all from formless energy, from nothing, until the world was created, and how the world is today. That world that comes from today all stemmed from nothing, and was eventually created to how we know and see the world and life today. That's the real us. That's the real universal truth. That's how we all see life and do life. And AI is just another distraction that's going to make people feel as if something in the outside world is creating their experience within it. And AI can't do that. AI no matter its drawbacks, no matter its positives, cannot dictate the way a person thinks and feels. Okay? So if an AI can't have any influence over how we think and feel, then we can understand that at a deeper level and thrive. And that means if you're worried about AI taking your job, then if you can recognize that worry is an internal created illusion, that you can go, oh, okay, if I'm creating this, then it must have nothing to do with AI or its threats. And if I understand that, then I get the power back in my life, and I can just do my job to the best of my ability, not worry about the threats of AI. Or I can have the wisdom to think, okay, AI is real, I can't ignore that, but I'm not going to do a knee-jerk reaction and leave my job just because I'm scared about something. I'm going to buy my time and then create my own thing and go into business for myself before AI eventually probably replaces me in my job. Or if you have been made redundant, but you understand the inside-out nature of life, you could think again, oh, okay, so I've been made redundant from this external factor that's got nothing to do with how I think, feel and experience life. So, okay, I've been made redundant through AI, but if I understand that my thinking, thoughts and feelings aren't being influenced by AI or how it's stolen my job, then I have the power back to me. And when you get that power back to you, you have the wisdom, the ideas to get your next job, or as I say, create your own thing. Or, if you're at a certain age and, the time is right for you, take early retirement. I'm not telling you what to do with all these scenarios and instances. What I'm trying to do is help you understand that how life works, how life really works, and how this new technology that seems to be thriving already and being spread like a wildfire cannot influence you as a person. And it's a simple understanding, but an understanding that often gets lost. And, I'm supposed to be teaching this inside out understanding, and I forget how it works. I'm always blaming the outside world for my ill-fated experiences of life. So when I feel down, I think, oh, it's because my kids are pissing me off. Oh, if I'm feeling stressed at work, oh, my job's stressing me out. Or if I'm feeling happy, it's because I got a pay rise at work. Stuff like that. I blame the outside world for how I think and feel. And it can't be true that those things are influencing how we think and feel, because everyone responds to different situations differently. I was in the car with my dad yesterday. He gave me a lift back from a hospital appointment. I'll tell you this story that's just come to my mind. And my dad was in the right-hand lane and he started to indicate left because he wanted to be in the left-hand lane, and he saw a gap, exploited it and snuck in. Now the guy behind him didn't take kindly to that and pipped him. And my dad kind of stuck his hand in the air and went, what, that was a bit uncalled for, mate. And I agreed with my dad. I thought it was a little bit of a harsh hoot, a harsh pip, to be honest, because I don't see how my dad could have done anything different if he wanted to get in the left-hand lane, to be honest. But the guy, for some reason, didn't take kindly to that and pipped. And my mum was just sat in the back silent, not saying anything about it. Now, in that one situation, you've got 4 different perspectives. You've got my dad's perspective of, getting a little bit annoyed at the driver for pipping him, because he did. You've got the perspective of the driver, who's obviously annoyed at my dad for zipping into a tight gap and pipping. You've got me, who's kind of agreeing with my dad that I thought it was a little bit uncalled for. And you've got my mum in the back that's got no opinion whatsoever. Now, in that one scenario, in that one 10-15 second spell, you've got 4 different perspectives on that situation. My dad had a perspective, I had a perspective, my mum in the back had a perspective, and the driver who pipped had a perspective. Now, replay that situation again in a different moment of time. My dad indicates he indicates in the guy doesn't pit this time, and my dad doesn't get annoyed about that. I don't get annoyed about that. My mum doesn't get annoyed about that. And the driver who didn't pip obviously didn't get annoyed. Now that's the same situation, but different experiences of life going on in that same situation, and what I described to you about all those different experiences of life. There's millions of possibilities we all could have had. Yeah, the guy could have pitted, but my dad might not got annoyed about it. I just laughed it off, and I probably would have done the same. And my mum could have been the one who was going, that was a bit uncalled for. That was unnecessary. You know what I'm saying? Everyone has different realities, and we can pick so many different situations, different experiences of life, inadvertently, of those situations. We don't particularly get to pick the experience we have. It just kind of comes so quickly we don't see it happening. But we can recognise that we're probably going a bit too far with our experience, and we can come back home, come back to the real us, and settle down. And you can do that with AI. You could do that with AI. AI is going to have so many benefits that we can't get away from that, whether we like AI or don't like AI. It's here, it's not going anywhere, and it's going to grow, and it's here to stay. Now we can either get lost in that and get lost in the illusion of that and get stressed about it, or we can recognise that stress and anxiety about AI isn't the real us, and when we understand that, we get our power back and we can thrive. So remember, when it comes to AI, and you don't have to be at the mercy of it, even if it affects you in the outside world. With understanding about where our experience truly comes from, you can thrive in your life and do the best for your life with deep understanding. And if you want to deepen your understanding about this experience of life that I talk about, as I say, send me an email, 142a1988@gmail.com. Connect with me on LinkedIn, connect with me on Instagram, send me a DM, and like and subscribe this podcast. And I offer a 15-minute free conversation with you. So if you want 15 minutes with me for free, just to talk one-to-one about, your experiences of life and how stressful they are, and if you're needing some extra support or help, which you think I might be able to help with, then do let me know, and I'll be gladly happy to sit down with you to talk about that in much more depth and see if we're a good fit to work with each other going forward. And I've got a free work stress guide as well. If you go to the description of this podcast episode, there's a free work stress guide for you to get as well. Simply put your email address in, and the free work stress guide will come back to you. So hope you enjoy this one. As I said, I really miss talking to you on a one-to-one basis. I thought AI was a very interesting topic because I think it's a topic that's just scratching the surface a bit with people. It's not really reached its full potential, but I think it's fair to say people are worried about it already. And I wanted to prove to you that you've got nothing to worry about with a deep understanding of how life truly works. Take care, and I'll see you on the next episode recording. Speak to you soon, guys. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. If this episode resonated with you, then feel free to connect with me on Instagram or LinkedIn, where I share more insights on work stress, leadership pressure, and the inside out understanding. You can also contact me directly via email at onethoughtaWay1988@gmail.com. And if you're navigating pressure in your own career, you can download my free work stress guide using the link in the show notes. Until next time, take care, and remember, work stress might feel real in the moment, but it isn't who you really are. Thank you.